From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story for today: the International Criminal Court, or the ICC, is relying on its 124 member states to enforce arrest warrants as it lacks its own police force. These include those issued for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant this week. The pair would only be arrested if they enter a country that chooses to enforce the ICC's warrant. The court does not prosecute defendants in absentia. This means that a trial would only occur if Netanyahu and Gallant are detained in an ICC member state and brought to The Hague. All EU states are members of the ICC. The EU's top diplomat, Joseph Borrell, has affirmed that the warrants are binding for all signatories of the Rome Statute. That is the treaty that established the ICC and established 4 core international crimes: genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and the crime of aggression. The Netherlands has pledged cooperation. Foreign Minister Casper Veldkamp has confirmed they will respect the ICC's independence. Ireland has also voiced strong support for the ICC, emphasizing the need for all states to uphold its impartiality and authority. In related news, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham says he will introduce legislation to punish any country that cooperates with the International Criminal Court or the ICC after the court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli leaders. Graham has criticized the decision, warning that the U.S. must act strongly to avoid conceding the court's jurisdiction. He has also threatened that nations assisting the ICC in its actions against Israel would face consequences from the United States. The court has issued warrants for Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The ICC has cited reasonable grounds to believe they were responsible for war crimes such as starvation as a method of warfare and crimes against humanity. President-elect Donald Trump is intensifying opposition to a bill designed to protect journalists and press freedom. On his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump urged Republicans to kill the bipartisan Protect Reporters from Exploitative State Spying Press Act, which passed the House earlier this year. The bill would prevent the government from forcing journalists to reveal confidential sources, with exceptions only for terrorism or imminent violence. Press advocates and several lawmakers, including Congressman Jim Jordan and Senator Mike Lee, argue that the bill safeguards all journalists. That includes those with conservative audiences. Despite backing from some Republican senators, the bill faces resistance in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Advocates are pushing for swift action. Meanwhile, concern is growing over a separate bill that could strip nonprofit status from organizations. That includes news outlets accused of supporting terrorism without due process, which could severely limit free speech rights. Civil society groups are strongly condemning the passage of the Terror Financing and Tax Penalties on American Hostages Act by the United States House of Representatives. The bill, which revokes tax-exempt status from nonprofits accused of supporting terrorist organizations, passed with bipartisan support, 219 to 184, with 15 Democrats joining Republicans in backing the controversial legislation. Advocacy groups are warning that the bill poses a serious threat to free speech and democratic values. They argue it could be weaponized to target progressive movements, particularly those supporting Palestinian rights. Jewish Voice for Peace, or the JVP, has called the bill straight out of the authoritarian playbook. They have linked it with right-wing policy agendas like Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation's Project Esther, which claims to combat anti-Semitism but denies resources to groups that support the human rights of Palestinian people. In a united effort, groups like Fight for the Future and the Council on American Islamic Relations have joined the opposition. They have sent over 35,000 letters to Congress in 1 week. Tech moguls Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have unveiled their new initiative aiming to eliminate thousands of regulations. Called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, it aims to cut down the size of the federal government and increase efficiency. Musk and Ramaswamy were appointed by President-elect Donald Trump for the task. In a Wall Street Journal op-ed, the duo stressed that DOGE's reforms will be guided by the U.S. Constitution. They say the changes will also focus on recent Supreme Court rulings aiming to reduce federal regulations and hold agencies accountable. Musk and Ramaswamy plan to reduce the federal workforce and cut funding for various programs, including international grants and Planned Parenthood. Ramaswamy has controversially suggested that all federal agencies could be deleted in the process. While critics have expressed concern, it remains unclear if DOJ will be an advisory panel or a formal government body requiring congressional approval. A new survey shows that 81% of Generation X Americans are worried they will not receive Social Security benefits when they retire. Generation X refers to those born between 1965 and 1980. Conducted in October, the Bankrate poll reveals that concerns about the future of Social Security are widespread. Overall, only 6% of Americans remain confident that the program will be there when they retire. The survey also found that most older Americans, particularly 69% of baby boomers and 56% of Gen X, expect to rely on Social Security for retirement. In contrast, younger Americans are less dependent on it, with 48% of millennials and 46% of Gen Z saying they'll rely on the program. Currently, 77% of retired Americans depend on Social Security. A documentary about the Texas mosque arson is nominated for an award. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. The powerful documentary series A Town Called Victoria has been nominated for the Best Limited Series by the International Documentary Association. Co-produced by Victoria, Texas native Anthony Pedone, the series explores the aftermath of a devastating 2017 mosque fire. It showcases how the community came together to rebuild and heal. The fire was set by a man later found guilty of a hate crime and occurred just hours after then-President Donald Trump's travel ban against several Muslim-majority countries took place. A member of the Victoria Islamic Center took photos of the blaze and posted them on its official Facebook page, writing, "We will rebuild with love." India's Supreme Court has suggested conducting the trial of Kashmiri pro-independence leader Yasin Malik inside a jail in New Delhi. The proposal came during a hearing on a plea by the Central Bureau of Investigation challenging an order for Malik's physical presence in Jammu for a trial. The case related to a 1989 abduction of the daughter of former Chief Minister Mufti Syed and alleged killing of Indian Air Force officials. Malik has already been sentenced to life imprisonment in 2022 in another case for charges including terrorism and conspiracy. The court cited the fair trial given to Pakistani militant Ajmal Kasab, convicted for the 2008 Mumbai attacks, as precedent. Malik, who refuses to hire a lawyer and insists on self-representation, has raised concerns over the feasibility of online cross-examination in Jammu, citing connectivity issues. The court is now considering how to proceed with the trial while ensuring fairness for all accused. Pakistan claims that nearly 800,000 illegal Afghan nationals have returned to their home country in the past year. The government had launched a repatriation drive last year in November. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Zahra told a weekly press briefing in the capital Islamabad that the process continues to ensure a successful and smooth return of illegal Afghan nationals. She said so far, more than 750,000 undocumented Afghans were sent back to Afghanistan. According to UN figures, approximately 1.3 million Afghans enjoy the status of registered refugees in Pakistan, while another 880,000 have legal status to stay. Pakistan started its crackdown on all foreigners illegally staying in the country, citing a rise in militant attacks. Approximately 270 Palestinian children are being held in Israeli prisons amid harsh conditions. In a statement marking World Children's Day, the Palestinian Commission of Detainees' Affairs said this figure does not include minors detained by the Israeli army in Gaza. The commission says it has documented testimonies about Israeli abuses against Palestinian children by prison wardens. On November 7th, the Israeli parliament passed a law authorizing the detention of Palestinian minors under the age of 14 in closed facilities if convicted of murder involving what it called terrorism or terrorist activities. According to Palestinian figures, over 11,700 Palestinians have been detained by the Israeli army in the occupied West Bank since October of last year. That figure, however, does not include those arrested from Gaza, whose numbers are estimated to be in thousands. The European Union has approved new rules banning Chinese products made using forced labor in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. It marks a significant initiative to curb abuse in the region, where Uyghurs are reportedly subjected to such practices. The forced labor regulation passed on Tuesday. It will require EU nations to prevent the sale of goods produced with forced labor. It directly targets companies that are profiting from exploitative supply chains and is expected to come into effect by 2028. An estimated 27.6 million people worldwide are trapped in forced labor. Activists are urging other countries to adopt similar laws. Leaders and nations around the world continue to react to the International Criminal Court, or the ICC's arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The pair are accused of war crimes in Gaza. The state of Palestine welcomed the decision, calling it a restoration of hope in international law. Iran's General Hossein Salami hailed it as a great victory for Palestinian and Lebanese resistance movements. China, Turkey, South Africa, and Jordan supported the ICC's actions, urging respect for the court's decisions and emphasizing the need for justice for Palestinians. Spain, Belgium, and the Netherlands called for the enforcement of the warrants, highlighting the importance of holding Israeli leaders accountable. The international community, including the UN and the BDS movement, called for continued accountability. In contrast, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban says he will invite Netanyahu to visit his country to defy ICC arrest warrants. Orban, whose country holds the European Union's rotating 6-month presidency, told state radio that the ICC's arrest warrant was wrong. Meanwhile, a district court in The Hague in the Netherlands is hearing a case by a coalition of NGOs accusing the Dutch state of failing to prevent genocide in Gaza. Experts say the ICC arrest warrants are expected to add more weight to this case. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least over 44,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children, and wounded more than 104,000 since October 7th of 2023. Last July, the British medical journal The Lancet estimated that Israel's war and violence in Gaza may have killed as many as 186,000 Palestinians. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.